the women's side did get knocked out of the FA Cup, which means that realistically, the only competition that the men can win is the Premier League or Champions League, and the only competitions the women can win is the WSL or the Champions League. Welcome back to the Arsenal Humans podcast with me, Luce. I hope you're all good. I mean, if you're a Gooner, it's been a pretty mixed week. We started the week off unreal. Turns out Arsenal can actually score. And then we ended the week a couple of days ago on Sunday with both the teams having pretty poor performances. So, yeah, as a whole, pretty mixed week. I mean, we do obviously have the 3 games to recap on in this episode, as well as looking ahead to 3 more games. And in those games, there's been lots of goals, lots of drama, both on and off the pitch. So let's dive straight into that. But first, let's look at the warm-up question or poll. Okay, let's get straight into the warm-up poll, which this week is a warm-up poll. It sort of is a question I've already done before, but it's very relevant, and you'll find out why. Will Arsenal win any silverware this season? Let's you know what, before I chat, let's look straight at the poll results, and 5% of you said yes, Arsenal will win silverware this season, so sort of want to know what you're watching. I love the optimism though, I'm here for it. A little bit delusional if you ask other fans, but we'll go with optimism. 95% of you did say no, and I'm going to have to agree once again with the majority that said 95%, because, I mean, this week, obviously I'm going to go into more detail in about 5-10 minutes about it, but the women's side did get knocked out of the FA Cup, which means that realistically, the only competition that the men can win is the Premier League or Champions League, and the only competitions the women can win is the WSL or the Champions League. And if you look at, let's look at the leagues. Chelsea are 11 points ahead of Arsenal with a game in hand, so potentially could be 8 points ahead, but obviously that's still so far. This isn't the WSL. We're not catching up with them, so WSL is ruled out, meaning Champions League is the only thing we can focus on. So we're basically going to have to put all into that, hoping that turns out well, but also we need to make sure we secure top 3 in the WSL, but at least we've got those 2 competitions to fully focus on, so I'm hoping that can go well. So you never know, we could do well, but I'm thinking realistically, the women's side, we're not going to win any silverware this season now, which is frustrating. I thought the FA Cup could have been our chance, but obviously that's now gone. I will chat more about why that is now gone, but I think overall, yeah, it is gutting. But I think as long as we're in a good position to start next season, I know a lot of people are like, next season FC, but as long as we are in a good position to start next season, then I'm happy with that. I mean, there's been a lot of changes with the manager, and if Slegers is starting, which you should be, in September throughout the whole season, then we'll get off to a good start, hopefully. Moving on to the men's side, so we've established pretty much no silverware for the women's side now this season. Moving on to the men's side, Liverpool are 15 ahead with a game in hand, but I mean, if you take away that game in hand, they're still 12 points ahead. We're not catching up with them, so for us, it's about securing that top 4 spot so we can get Champions League next season, which I think in both the men's and women's leagues, we can come in second. So I don't have any doubts about that. But then realistically, the only way, actually, I thought about it, the only way that both the men and women will get silverware this season is by winning the Champions League. And that is a big ask, you know? So I'm going to have to agree with the poll. And yeah, I don't really want to dwell on this question for too much longer, to be fair. I feel like from the weeks going forward, I need to come up with different questions because it feels like a little bit repetitive and it brings the mood down at the start of the episode, which we don't want to do. So you know what, let's bring the mood back up, and we're going to focus on the first game where Arsenal prove that they can score this season. PSV 1, Arsenal 7. Can't even show you how many goals that is because I'm holding my Google Pixel and my microphone, so it's, you know, chaotic. But Arsenal proved that we can score, and we don't need that out-and-out striker. I mean, we didn't for this game because we had Timber, Waneri, Marino, Odegaard scored 2, Trossard scored, and Calafiori sealed that 7-1 win. And it just proves that, yeah, in certain games we can use other players, but I don't get why we didn't do this later on in the week and why we haven't done this all season. I mean, there have been reports, I saw a headline earlier, that Arteta is looking for the next Haaland striker type player, and good luck, because I mean, it would be amazing. So, you know, let's be optimistic and see if that does happen. But focusing on this game, there are a lot of goals, and I don't have a lot of time talk about all 3 games as well as the predictions for the next 3 games. So I'm going to try keep it a little bit brief. Before I actually start, I need to confess something. I watched the game until 3-1, and then I had to sleep because I had to be up at 2 a.m. for work, humble beginnings. No, I love what I do at work. But I had to be up super early, and I was like, let's be a little bit sensible. So I've turned into a bit of a granny recently with my sleep schedule. But I mean, it was a nice surprise when I woke up. I went to bed with us winning 3-1, woke up an extra 4 goals. I was like, okay, get it. A few things I want to highlight is that Timber opened the score sheet, which he obviously used to play for Ajax. He is a Dutch footballer, and in the world of Dutch football, there's the big 3, which has Ajax, PSV, and Feyenoord in it. So for him to score against PSV, which is a former rivalry, basically, iconic. Also, just for him to score is so good to see him back on the pitch. I mean, my friend Jamie, who you might see if you see my socials, it's luce.case, so luce.case on Instagram. He is a huge fan of Timber, and I know that he's buzzing that he's back fully in the squad, playing a lot more games, and hopefully after this performance proves why he is so good at that inverted left back role, but also he can find the net as well. So he's get a man that can do both. Honestly, he's very versatile. I don't understand another thing in this game. I don't understand why we needed to give that penalty away. Obviously it was a penalty by Partey, but I don't understand why that needed to happen. But either way, it did not overshadow the 7 goals that we scored, and 2 players in particular that were creating a lot of those chances and just so dominant at such a young age was Ethan Nwaneri and Miles Lewis-Skelly, and we have to highlight them because honestly it's actually kind of crazy that right now at Arsenal we're relying so heavily on such young players, but I mean they're performing, they're proving why they should be in that squad. So I'm excited to see what the future looks like with them stepping up. But overall, what a great first leg of the round of 16. I mean, we're pretty much through to the quarterfinals at this point, but you never know, it's football, so you never know what could happen. I mean, that would be a pretty shocking game tomorrow night if we end up losing and not getting through to the quarters, but we pretty much are there, so we've just got to finalise that tomorrow night. But I'll get onto that game a bit later on. But yeah, that was the first game of the week. Started off great. Then Sunday we had 2 games, and I can't believe I'm saying this next result. Genuinely, I can't believe it. Arsenal 0, Liverpool 1. We're knocked out of the FA Cup. I don't know why I'm still smiling. I need to actually tell my face that it's a bad thing, because yeah, I didn't see that one coming. I did not see that one coming. I mean, if you look at the stats, Liverpool clearly wanted it more. So we had 6 shots, they had 7. 3 of theirs was on target. Only 1 of ours was actually on target, which is really poor when you think we're trying to compete with the likes of Chelsea, United, City right at the top. So that was pretty poor from us. They had 7 corners, we had 4, so it just shows that we weren't really taking chances. Overall, I just think they were a bit more hungry for it. I mean, a bit of a weird way to see it, but they gave away 8 fouls, whereas we only gave away 4. So I feel like for me that shows that they're hungry, they're putting in those late tackles and things like that because they really want to win, and obviously it paid off for them because, I mean, they're through to the semi-finals, which I'm really happy to see that there's an underdog in the semi-finals. I mean, for that game you wouldn't think they were an underdog because they definitely dominated us. But us being out at the quarterfinals, not something I thought would happen this season. Very humbling. I feel like Arsenal just keep on getting humbled, both the men and women, just constantly humbling times for us. But, I'm happy Liverpool have got through to the semi-finals, not obviously beating us, but I'm happy that there's a team that's not the big 4 teams, if that makes sense. Even though they're now playing Chelsea. I mean, Chelsea have basically got it mapped out so that they're going to win as much silverware as they can this season, and they probably will win at least a couple of trophies. But it's just so frustrating. I don't know how this draw works, but how did they get how have Chelsea got Liverpool at home now? It baffles me because I'm like, that's seen as more of the easier draw. Obviously for Arsenal it was not the easy draw because, well, we ended up losing obviously a couple of days ago. Who knows? Obviously the goal that they scored did come from a lot of pressure on our keeper. DVD ended up basically scoring an own goal because the shot hit off the post as she dived it, then hit her back and went in. I mean, there's nothing you can do in that situation, but that goal came in the 78th minute. We had a whole 15 minutes to turn that game around and we just couldn't. So yeah, bit frustrating for that, but I mean, Liverpool wanted it and they got it, so good on them. I wish it was us, but it wasn't. There is also something I want to address from this game, which was the inappropriate comments that Taylor Hines received from this game, and both her and Liverpool have come out with statements basically saying that obviously it's unacceptable, and yeah, she just shouldn't be subjected to this. And I feel like it's so frustrating because week on week in the WSL, or in any of the competitions that the women's sides compete in, there's constantly these conversations we're having. It's good we're having these conversations because, like, them releasing that statement, her speaking out, I'm hoping it reduces it because it puts awareness out there and hopefully action comes from it, so it shows that people are taking this seriously and it's unacceptable and it should not be happening. But the fact that we literally were having a conversation like last week or a couple of weeks ago about the racism and misogyny and sexism that Bunny Shaw received when she played Arsenal, like, it is just so disappointing to see that still happening in the women's game. And I think, yeah, overall, like, in her statement, she literally said how it's so sad because her parents would be watching that, not realizing what people are saying, and it's just so unacceptable. So it's good she spoke out, and it's good that a lot of players have shown support, as obviously you'd expect, but it is good to see that. I mean, Leah Williamson is one of them who came out on her Instagram story and basically showed that support by saying it is unacceptable and it needs to stop, and it so does. So I'm happy that she spoke out about it, but it's so frustrating and disappointing that we're still having these conversations when it's 2025. You think women's football is in a good sport and the game is growing, but when you're faced with challenges like this and controversial subjects, it just shows that maybe it's not as far along as we thought it is. So yeah, I think it is good that they spoke out about it and a statement was released, and it's good that the clubs showed their full support, same way that the media in general did with Bunny Shaw recently. But I'm hoping that this is one of the last times we have to talk about these topics, but sadly, because if you look at the landscape of the women's game, I feel like it's probably not. But I'm hoping that she's got the support she needs around her, and that anyone else subjected to this sort of hate is able to deal with that because of their support networks. Moving on to the game later on that afternoon, Man United won, Arsenal won. Yeah, I mean, I did predict it to be a 1-0 win. Oh, actually, going back to the other ones, I predicted the first game to be a 2-1 win, so exceeded my expectation with that 7-1. I predicted the Liverpool game to be a 3-0 win to Arsenal. Did not happen. And this one I predicted Arsenal to win 1-0. Did not happen. In fact, we drew 1-0. I mean, I knew the whole week couldn't go how we wanted it, but it's just frustrating that it was against United. I mean, you look at their form recently, Amorim's already been questioned over whether he should be in or out. I mean, people are saying United should give Amorim more of a chance, and the same chance that Arsenal are giving Arteta, because obviously Arteta's been at our club for like 4 or 5 years, got minimal silverware, and Amorim's literally come in a few months ago. So I think, we've got to give him a chance, and I don't think you can fully see the impact that a coach can have, a manager can have, until at least the season. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's just obviously my opinion. I just think, this game, like, we just really didn't show that we wanted it as much, which is weird because of their position in the league. Like, we're seeing this as like, oh my god, it's amazing. Obviously, we should be celebrating a goal. That is what football is about, celebrating those goals. But the fact that we're celebrating a 74th equaliser against a really struggling United, I mean, not even what's happening on the pitch, but everything. Ratcliffe has come out with an interview yesterday, basically being very real with it, which you've got to respect him being very real with the situation of the club. But the club is going so downhill. I mean, they've announced a new stadium, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, the priorities are all over the place with it. And the pay, there was like a body language coach that was getting like £175,000 a year, which I worked out is about 700 quid a day. Crazy. But they've obviously been sacked. Like, there's so many cuts and so many controversies at the club that I thought this was the one time that we could prove that, yes, we're not going to win the title, but we at least want to go out fighting and at least really secure that Champions League spot. I mean, at least we've got one goal. One goal and 1 point. Fernandez did obviously open up the score sheet. And what was it, like the extra time, of the first half? Unreal free kick from him. You've got to praise that, but I just didn't want to see that going in. I just didn't want to see that happening. I mean, Odegaard did try it, like, probably about 30 minutes later. Tried to do the same thing. It just hit the wall straight away. And I was like, nope, this is not our day. The women are out of the FA Cup. Men are basically losing at this point. But I mean, Rice did manage to score, and this guy, I swear he can't actually just score a little tap in or a little header or something. I mean, he's done that before, but like generally he always has to like blast it, and it's iconic. So I'm just so happy he got that goal because it meant we didn't lose all our dignity. I mean, in the past, this game was always, there was a lot of riding on it, whereas right now I feel like it's just ego and pride that's riding on it. So at least we didn't get shut down completely. So obviously gutted that we drew against United, lost against Liverpool, but we've got to focus on PSV, and that's what we're going to do because we actually come up against them again this week. So let's take a look at the predictions for this week. Okay, we have reached the final section of today's episode, which is the prediction section as always, and this section hasn't been too what's the word I'm looking for? Basically, none of my predictions have really been right recently. I think I've only ever got one bang on right. Usually I get like the win, draw or loss situation down, but this week, I mean, I predicted 3 wins. We got a win. Congrats to me. Didn't predict the scoreline right at all though. Predicted another win, we got a draw, and then predicting a final win, and we lost. So, you know, it just isn't looking great. So I'm hoping the 3 games this week I have better chance. Arsenal versus PSV, it is the second leg, and obviously after that 7-1 win last week, I'm feeling pretty confident. That is tomorrow night. So Tuesday night. No, not Tuesday night. What's tomorrow night? That is tomorrow night, Wednesday night. It is at the Emirates, and it is a home game, so I'm feeling confident. I do feel like Arteta's going to completely mix up the squad that went out. I'm going to say probably a Raya situation in the net. I want to say White, Kivior, Gabriel and Tierney at the back. I feel like it's a good opportunity to give some players more game time that maybe we're going to probably be saying bye to in the summer. Talking about players that we might be saying bye to soon, I feel like this would be a good chance for Sterling to get some more game time and try to win over the fans, because hasn't been the most convincing. I mean, if he actually does start tomorrow night, this would only be his 10th start since signing for Arsenal. I also expect to see Martinelli there. I think Trossard could be up at the top. Jorginho in the midfield with Ødegaard and Zinchenko. I think we need Ødegaard to keep that stability, and last game obviously scored 2, and I feel like he's getting back in his good form, because this season he's been a bit mixed. So that's roughly who I'm expecting to play. I think we just need to make sure that we're clinical. I don't think we will be as clinical as we were in the first leg, because obviously that was mental. And I feel like this squad is quite different, but I feel like it's good that hopefully we'll be able to rest some players ahead of the Premier League games that we need to make sure we're securing the wins for later on. So yeah, I'm gonna predict a 3-1 win, and then actually overall that means we'd end up winning 10-2 on aggregate, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, let's manifest that one, and we're through to the quarterfinals 100%. We've got this. The next game actually comes on Friday, so we've got a couple of midweek games as well as one at the weekend on Sunday. The next midweek game is Arsenal versus Everton. It's in the WSL. I'm going to straight away just predict a 2-0 win to Arsenal. To be honest, when we look at the WSL now, we know we're not going to win it, so it's more almost basically just trying to secure that top 3 spots, so then we get Champions League, and obviously that's what we're going to be doing, focusing on trying to actually win the competition. But you've always got to have that backup, because that is quite high expectations when you look at like so Barca, Chelsea, Lyon, like these other teams that we're going to be playing against. I think Slegers will turn it around. She's been known recently to, even after a loss, be able to come back and just focus on it's a new week, it's a new game. So I have complete faith in her. And Everton haven't actually won when they've played us the last 5 times. The last time we did play, though, was a draw back in October. I think that was like the 2nd or 3rd game of the WSL season. I was sat there at the Emirates, and that was the first game actually that DVD, Daphne Van Domselaar, took over, was in the net, and she looked a little bit shaky, but I mean, I feel like it was a bit of a flat game, a bit of a dead game, so I'm hoping this time is a bit more exciting. The players are back to it, the players are more used to each other. We also have Slegers in charge, so I'm feeling a little bit more confident about this game. So yeah, 2-0 sounds pretty realistic considering it is away. It's a Friday night at 7 p.m, bit of a mad kick-off, bit of a weird one. But yeah, I'm feeling confident. Then looking ahead to Sunday, we have Arsenal versus Chelsea in the Premier League. It's 1:30 kick-off, so bang in the middle of the day. And I'm going to predict I'm going to predict a 2-1 win. Actually, we do have the Carabao Cup a few hours after this, so I feel like most people will be focusing on that. So hopefully we can sort of like ease through without too much pressure on us. I do feel like this is a close game though, because both teams need to win for not only pride, obviously, because it's a big London derby, but also Arsenal need to come in the top 2 because otherwise people start saying we're bottling it. Like right now we know we're not going to win the league because what Slot's done with Liverpool is crazy. I mean, I don't feel like he's had too much to do, to be fair. Like the team was already sort of formed. But yeah, I just feel like it is kind of mad if we ended up dropping down to like 3rd or 4th. So we need to definitely win this game. But then with Chelsea, they're literally 4th and they've only got 2 points between them, City and Newcastle. And obviously the top 4 get Champions League. So if they want Champions League next season, they need to stay in that top 4, which at the start of the season, I was like, yeah, they could get like top 2, top 3. Whereas now they have dropped off a little bit. I mean, Cole Palmer literally missed a penalty at the weekend against Leicester City. So we'll have to see. I'm hoping he has that sort of form this weekend. But you never know. But I am going to predict a 2-1 win. So 3 games, 3 wins is what I'm predicting once again. Didn't quite work out last week, but hopefully it will work out this week. So I guess that's all I have to say for now. Okay, perfect. That is the end of this episode. It is episode 19 of the Arsenal Humans podcast. I hope if you're new, you stick around, you like, subscribe, follow, whatever, whether you're listening, watching on YouTube or whatever you're doing, Spotify, YouTube vibe. Hope you stick around. And if you have been watching from episode 1, congrats to you because that is crazy. That is a lot of waffle from me. But anyways, we've got 3 exciting games coming up this week, so stay tuned, come back next week early on, and yeah, we can reflect on it then.